Take two. Welcome to the Freakish Lemon video podcast. I am your host, the Freakish Lemon. I go by Adrian and I use masculine pronouns. Welcome any new viewers. Thank you so much for clicking on whatever you clicked on to get here. And welcome back any returning viewers. I really appreciate that you're willing to follow whatever it is I'm doing here on the internet. This is a Crafty Things type podcast coming to you from the Northwest Hills of Connecticut, if you were unaware. Show notes for this episode and all episodes can be found at freakishlemon.com or freakishlemonpodcast.com. They go to the same place. And there's a group on Ravelry. Just search Freakish Lemon in the Groups tab and you will find us. You can follow me at all the fun places as Freakish Lemon, like Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, Ravelry. And the links to all these things will be in the down bar here on YouTube or somewhere around here if you're watching this somewhere else. And if you are here on YouTube and you'd like to keep following what I'm doing here, please feel free to hit the subscribe button. This way you get an update in your subscriptions feed whenever I post a new video. I'm filming this on Saturday, May 20th, 2017. And this is the new craft room, which I will talk about in life stuff in more detail. But for now, podcast stuff. The 2017 blanket make-along is ongoing. It's for the entirety of 2017. If you're working on a blanket, you can enter a photo of progress that you've made on your blanket and start chatting and encourage blanket making in a thread in our Ravelry group. I'm doing quarterly prize drawings with some pretty fantastic prizes, and yeah, feel free. There's a hashtag blanket MAL 2017. I don't promote that enough, but I'm also very terrible at tagging things on Instagram and everywhere, but I'm better about it. Other places, it's a mess. I'm terrible, is what I'm trying to get at. But that is a hashtag you can use for this make-along. Whew, these allergies are kicking me right in the face. All day, every day. Always. Whew. Yes. Got a little excited. I'm a little nervous. Less nervous now that my parents have left the house. But this is take two because take one that had people walking into this room. Yeah. Suffice it to say, I need to figure out a good time when to film these episodes. I meant to do it earlier this morning, but I desperately needed a haircut. And I'm getting ahead of myself. There's one more thing in podcast stuff that I need to talk about. Upcoming spin-along. That's right, folks. On June 1st, starts the second annual Sith and Spin. Yes, if you're new, that's a hashtag that I saw was not being used due to a typo that I had made looking for a different hashtag. Sith and Spin is a spin-along where you spin whatever you want and you watch or read or listen to or play video games, because there's some games you can do that. Star Wars while you're spinning. Easy, easy, easy. Easy. And it's super fun. It's running June 1st to August 31st, and in the middle there is Tour de Fleece, which I believe is in July. So, if you are participating in Tour de Fleece, you're already spinning your tail off anyway. Just throw something Star Wars on while you're doing it, and you can join in on the spin-along. There will be prizes. I don't know what they will be yet for definite because I have not planned ahead very well, but Sith and Spin is coming. And that's one that I really had a good time with last year because we were all talking Star Wars. There was Star Wars book recommendations. Lots of people, the unofficial audiobook of last year's Sith and Spin was Maul Lockdown. A lot of people were listening to Maul Lockdown, which is a really good audiobook about Darth Maul in a prison kicking trash and taking names. Really good audiobook. Anyway, Sith and Spin is coming, which means I get to use that delightful intro again. Sometimes I just think about it and I miss it. I had too much fun making that. I have other ideas for Sith and Spin related things that I want to happen. I don't know if they will happen for this year's Sith and Spin, but there are things that I want to happen because they would be fun and delightful. Yeah, sorry. I'm doing my show notes on the Kindle today because I don't know what my normal podcast setup in this room is going to be. If I continue to podcast in this room, if I end up not finding a great time to podcast down here, I'm gonna move it back to my bedroom where I can close the door and people won't just walk into the room. Which brings us to life stuff. This is the new craft room. But this room really wasn't getting used. So my parents wanted to redo it. So the carpet needed to be replaced. It had lived many years through 4 children, a dog, 2 cats, puppies, Penny. You know, the thing was a mess and was being basically torn up off the floor. So gutted the room, painted it, redid the carpet, and when we were talking about redoing this room, my parents suggested that I move my craft stuff down here. So here is the craft room. And like I said before, this is take 2 because it's really easy for people to just walk in and out of here. There's no door for me to shut to say, no, I'm filming right now. But we'll figure it out. I think I had said that I was planning on filming this earlier in the morning. I think if I get up and film it early in the morning, sort of after breakfast, but before everybody's ready to do things for the day, like 8, like at 8 o'clock, between 8 and 10. If I can film there, I feel like that would be optimum time. There's not really much that we do during that time. If we're even awake. So if I can wake up at that time, that would probably be a good time to film. Or later at night, maybe. I'll figure it out. But if not, we'll just go back to the bedroom because it's through this wall. This wall right here, my bedroom's on the other side of it. So it's much easier to just bring my stuff next to the room next door than it is to cart things up and down the stairs 2 or 3 trips with armfuls of everything. But this is the craft room. You will have seen it in the intro. All the different tables that I'm creating everywhere. Yeah, the carpet got put in last Thursday. My dad bought and did the woodwork this past weekend, and my sister was over on Sunday to do laundry. My sister Gabby from the Once Upon a Corgi podcast. So while she was here, because she also went with me to IKEA on Saturday, got this table here with the adjustable legs, so if I'm doing a whole bunch of cutting fabric, I can pull this table out, lift the table up, cut a bunch of fabric at counter height. That kind of thing. And also a tabletop on top of some plastic storage units that I already had. And a chair for spinning. Because the chair that I'm sitting in, that I sat in the craft room upstairs, it's a good chair, but it leans very far back. So it's not very comfortable for me to spin. So I have a new spinning chair. But we went to IKEA last Saturday, and she was here on Sunday when Dad finished everything that he needed to do for this side of the room. And she helped me move all my stuff down here, which was very appreciated. So the only thing left to do on this side of the room is put the ceiling fan back together. The ceiling fan gets taken apart over the winter for Christmas because we used to get these huge Christmas trees for this side of the room. This is a very tall ceiling on this side of the room. But then they'd be in danger of the ceiling fan. If somebody accidentally turned it on, could knock the angel right off the tree. So the screws for the fan blades are missing. So we got to get some new screws for the fan, but that's the only thing left to do in this section of the room until I decide that I need to change everything, as I do. But I'm loving it so far. It's really nice to have like my spinning wheel out in the open where I can see it and I can just sit down and spin for 10 or 15 minutes and then continue on with what I'm doing. Like, it's like, oh yeah, I should spin for 5 minutes and then just spin for 5 minutes and then, you know, go back to switching the laundry type of thing. It's also really, really great having the 3 tabletops. Because I have one of the folding tables, the plastic folding tables here, I have my new IKEA table here, and I have the little tabletop over there, which creates a little table. So that little table over there is just holding stuff. And it's got my ball winder attached to it. But it's just holding stuff. So I can leave... I have enough tabletop spaces where I don't have to clear everything whenever I want to do anything. So my sewing machine is set up, and I can just sit down and sew. Like, this table is not very clear right now, but once I get in the groove of things, this will be much more clear than it is, and I could just iron some fabric for a quilt, or cut a couple squares for a quilt, or whatever it is. I'm really, really liking this setup so far. I'm really enjoying it, and I can't wait to play more in it. It makes me happy being down here where I can just sit down and work on my stuff. And yeah, it's very exciting. So that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing that's happened since my last episode. Next item on life stuff is new phone. You might have noticed something different. In take 1, there was a little bit of autofocusing stuff, but I don't know. This is a new phone. I switched carriers. They wouldn't take my old phone, so I had to get a new phone. And I went with a new phone. This is the Samsung Galaxy S8, so better than my previous phone, which was the S7. Always gotta love playing with a new phone. Anything to say about it? Not really. I've only had it for a couple of days, but I'm filming this with just the built-in microphone, not the external microphone that I had bought for my previous phone. So hopefully Samsung has fixed that weird clicking at the beginning of videos. If not, then I'll switch to that microphone again next time, but just so you know. And so if the camera's doing anything a little weird or things look a little different, that's because new camera, new phone. Might as well play with the new stuff. But that also means that I have my other phone, because I bought that outright, for basically, once I clear it off and make sure I have everything that I need on this phone, another camera that I can basically bring with me anywhere. Doesn't guarantee that I will actually take any more footage for anything, but yeah, it's a thought. Maybe actually remember to do things when I'm at events and take photos and videos of stuff at events. Or maybe, if I'm interesting enough, do Vlogmas in December. We'll see if my days get any more interesting than they do. But I think that would be an interesting project to take on at some point. And having a device that I can just fill with video would be very beneficial for that. The only other new thing is weather. Weather is terrible. I hate spring. Let me complain about the weather. What is this doing? I got a haircut this morning. I don't remember if I've mentioned that. And so my hair doesn't know what it's doing yet. Yeah, the weather's been crazy town. Like, it was normal spring weather for a little while, and then we had a 3-day heat wave this past week, where for 3 days, the high temperature got into the lower mid-90s. Fahrenheit. I don't know what it is in Celsius off the top of my head, but that's very hot for May. Not fun. Also, ticks have been crazy town. So many ticks. We live in the woods. We have a tiny lowrider dog. If you don't know my dog Penny, she is a corgi who likes to go in the bushes, and she comes out covered in ticks. She's on a tick medication, and we do have an all-natural spray that we periodically spray her with so that the ticks won't just hang out in her fur. They don't like the smell of the spray, I guess. And then for people, we have all the usual tick precautions, you know, off deep woods. And I have my rubber boots that I wear out in the yard that come up to my knees. Ugh, the ticks are crazy. The ticks are bad enough that, I kid you not, Penny has asked me to check her for ticks. Like, we've come in and, you know, I take her harness off, I do a puppy towel because she walks through wet grass and then her entire belly is wet and she always wants to jump up on somebody's bed, so you gotta dry her off. And then she just looks at me and she just rolls onto her back and tilts her head back and she's like, just check me. Because that's where they grab on, is on her legs and on her belly and right up here where she's fluffiest. And she can't check it herself. She has checked herself for ticks. She has found them on her legs and on her back, and she has pointed them out to us. Because there was one day, I don't remember if I talked about this, but there was one day where we came in after taking her out to do her business, came in, I pulled 12 ticks off of her. None of them were biting her, but I pulled 12 ticks out of her fur. 12 ticks for walking around the backyard for 40 minutes. It's crazy, and nobody wants Lyme disease. So, ugh, ticks, man. Crazy. That's really it for life stuff. Not a lot of exciting things happening, just me doing what I always do. Yep, that's it. So let's just go on into the craft stuff, shall we? Start with some knitting stuff. I have no finished objects, but I have a pair of nearly finished objects. These are my Anakin Skywalker socks out of the Anakin Skywalker self-striping yarn from Mustache Yarns. Pair of socks, pair of tubes with toes, basically. I have not put in the heels. These little ray gun progress keepers are where my cut-in afterthought heels will be. These are knit on size 0, 2mm needles. That's really all I have to say about them. I finished them at an awkward time, so it was easier just to start a new pair of socks than to fuss with cutting in the heels at the time. And the pair of socks that I started in this Star Wars bag with the see-through bottom is another pair of Star Wars self-striping socks. These are the Boba Fett socks. Again, Mustache Yarns, self-striping, size 0, 2mm needles. I say they because the second sock has been cast on, but it's 3 rows ripping and therefore not very exciting to look at. Oh, maybe it does autofocus. It does autofocus. Fancy. Oh, playing with new phones is always an adventure. Anyway, yes, Boba Fett socks. Here's the first one. Second one, 3 rows of ribbing. But I find I really like starting both of the socks at the same time. Even if I'm not working on them both actively, the second sock is already cast on, so I can just go once I'm done with the first sock. Works out for me. That's a trick if you're having problems with second sock syndrome. Cast on both socks, but only work on one of them until it's done. Because then you have the worst part of knitting socks out of the way. What else have I been working on? I forgot a pair of socks. Hang on. Seems like I always forget these socks. These are my Afterthought Everything socks in this Star Wars bag from Tangerine Designs. This is using Legacy Fiber Arts. I don't remember what the colorway name is because I lost the tag somewhere, but this was the final skein in the Advent Calendar Legacy Fiber Arts thing that they did in 2016. And these are my movie socks. So we went to go see Guardians of the Galaxy 2 and knit on some tube. So I think one more movie and this will be good to go for me to put the other cuff on the other end. And yeah, that'll be a tube. This unfortunately does not count for my Box O Socks, which is a knit-along being hosted by Kristen of Bull and Vine Yarns and the Yarngasm podcast, because this will probably be a pair of gift socks. Start those early for Christmas. And I don't have to rush at Christmas. But yeah, I always forget to bring these socks when I start filming. It's terrible. It's because I only pull them out when I go to the movies. And then last, but certainly not least, let me get my Kindle back over here so I can actually read my notes on this, is my Find Your Fade shawl. I've been putting a lot of time on this one, and I am now fading in color 6. So this is the Find Your Fade shawl pattern by Andrea Mowry that many of you have heard of before. I'm knitting this on US 3.25 millimeter needles. Just to quickly go over the yarns. Yarns 1, 2, and 3 are Once Upon a Corgi yarns in various Series of Unfortunate Events club colorways. The colorways are in the show notes. This is Sweater Weather by Legacy Fiber Arts. This is Moon Cusser by Bull and Vine Yarns. And now I am striping in, let me get that skein. This, which I can't remember the name of off the top of my head. It'll be in the show notes, but it is an Into the World kettle dyed skein of yarn. Heirloom? It might be called Heirloom. That just jumped into my head right there. But as you can see, lots of progress has been made on it. This little peanut butter and jelly sandwich progress keeper is where I was last episode. This little skull progress keeper is to remind me which side is the front. So yeah. I thought this section would blend more, but I'm not mad about it. What's funny is up here, it's actually closer to the purples that are in here. I probably just started at the wrong end of the skein. But whatever. I'm enjoying it. Let's point out some... Let's see, did I point out my hilarious lace mistakes last time? The lace section in Sweater Weather is all sorts of janked up. But I did better in the Moon Cusser section. A lot better. I actually made sure I had the right number of stitches in the row before starting the lace. That helps. I was not doing that previously. Oh well. It's not like you'll be able to see the mistakes when I'm wearing it. And even if you could, it's a huge shawl. Nobody's going to be nitpicking that much about it. Whatever. I still enjoy it. So that is all that matters for that. Let's just slide that down the table so it's out of the way and won't attack me while I'm filming. Is that it for knitting? Yes. It's very weird not having my laptop here. I got used to having the laptop here, but we'll see how this works out. So next up is crochet stuff. Oh boy, I've also been working on crochet stuff because there was a very stressful week at work in between last episode and this episode, and when it's stressful work weeks, it is crochet time. So I have been working on my half double crochet scrap blanket, which is in this giant Star Wars duffel bag that I made. And this is the third panel and the final panel of this blanket. Where's the end? Here. Okay. So, I don't know where we were last you saw it, but it was probably somewhere down around the bottom here. And I'm showing you the wrong side, where all the ends are. Whatever. Anyway. Very discombobulated this week, clearly. But I've done many scrap yarns on this section. Yeah, I've done many scrap yarns. So, probably a third of the way done with this one, which will be very exciting when I finish this. Then I get to do the side crochet up the sides, so then I can seam them together and then do a border, and then I will have a giant blanket. What size hook am I using for that? That is with a US H 5mm hook, and it's just half double crochets back and forth with scrap yarn that many of you generously provided to me, so thank you very much. It's very fun working on this blanket and choosing what bit I want to crochet next. I've also worked on both of my scrap fingering weight blankets. Where is this one? This is the Granny Stripe blanket in this tote bag by Lucy from the Attic 24 blog. I'm using, sorry, this is, let's face this way, read the notes, and then show the project. Might be an idea. Using a USB 2.25mm hook, and currently primarily using the minis from the Legacy Fiber Arts Advent Calendar. So, where are my markers? Here we go. So, it's a very wide blanket. This will actually probably, this happens to me with all of my Granny Stripe blankets. I've started this one, and I've finished one previously, and I have a worsted weight one on the hook right now too. I think every single one of them, I do the setup rows so long that they end up being the long sides of the blanket, and I end up the blanket being this way with vertical granny straps. So good at blankets. Anyway, this little iced bun progress keeper is where I was last time I showed it to you. This has been a kind of pick it up every now and again, do a row, but I've done enough rows now that I feel like I can show you progress on it. Yes, I don't think there's anything else really to say about it, other than it's super fun. And I can't wait to play on it some more. I love crochet blankets. I just love them. Which is why I've also been working on this one. This is the Corner to Corner blanket by Lori Bolland. Also using a USB 2.25mm hook. And I had used up all of my leftover scraps, because this one's being made by whatever little scraps are left over after I do, say, a Cozy Memories blanket square. Or any really small bits of yarn. And I had used up the magic knot balls that I had created with those yarns. But Gabby from the Once Upon a Corgi podcast and my sister had made this magic knot cake and decided she wasn't going to use it, so she brought it over and left it in my care to become part of one of my blankets. So I've been adding it into my corner to corner blanket, which I'm really loving the fabric that this method makes. I really like this. I wasn't paying attention to the camera. It's so new. I thought maybe it would be able to record higher video files. No. Still at the half-hour mark. Still gotta watch for that. things to know, learning experience. Anyway, I was saying I like the fabric that this makes, and behind me, somewhere that you can't really see, I do have a bin of black and gray worsted weight acrylic yarns. And I'm thinking about maybe doing a corner to corner with those once I finish some blankets, to see what kind of texture this would be in a worsted weight. So, plans. But yes, I'm really enjoying this one. I really love this blanket construction. You just want to keep working on it over and over and over again. It's so addictive. And that's it for crochet stuff. Fiber stuff, I have been working on fiber stuff. I've been working on my brown Cormo sweater spin using fibers from, I looked it up finally and put it in the notes, fibers from Marshmallow Farms, and I gotta look at the name of this one because otherwise I will botch it. Clabberglin Farms. Links to both those websites, Etsy stores, whatever they've got will be in the show notes. Yeah, it looks like this. I don't remember if this was one that I had finished, but I had finished a bobbin and started another one. But they all look the same until they're plied, so I've done more spinning on this. I'm on bobbin number 4. I'm aiming to fill all 6 normal size Ashford Kiwi bobbins on my Ashford Kiwi, and then do a whole bunch of plying and see how much I have. I think once I ply those 6 bobbins, because this is a 3-ply yarn, I think once I have an idea of how much yarn that is, I'm going to swatch for my sweater, and actually get the pattern, because I'm doing an Amy Herzog custom fit sweater through the custom fit website, and I don't know how much yarn I'm actually going to need. So I'm going to do my swatch, kind of generate my pattern, and find out how much yarn I need, and then figure out if I have enough fiber. I'm pretty sure I do, but just to be safe, this way, with stuff coming up, because I want to have this done by Rhinebeck. I want this to be my Rhinebeck sweater. So I want to be able to have enough to finish the spin. I'm sure I do, because I have an awful lot of brown Cormo, but it's a 3-ply yarn, so I can't really estimate how much yardage that's going to give me very well, because most of the yarns that I've done are 2-plies. Or if they're 3-plies, they've been like one-off 3-plies. It hasn't been a consistent amount of the same type of yarn for a large project. It's been little bits and bobs. So, yes. I think after I ply the 6 bobbins, when I get 6 bobbins done, then I'll start swatching and doing some math. But it's very exciting because I've been working on it. Oh, that's not in my notes. Oh my god. I'm terrible. I also, gotta remember to update my notes, plied my Classy Squid Fiber Company Oyster Rolags. Which look like this. This has not been washed or set. This is a chain ply. I did it on the Ashford Kiwi with the jumbo whirl. I like plying with that whirl because it's nice and slow, and so I have enough time to get a chain ply sorted out. So that's what that looks like. And it's sparkly and delightful, and this will probably one day be combined with all the rest of my Classy Squid Fiber Company hand spun into something giant and amazing. Very exciting. I can't believe I forgot about this. Scatterbrained. Don't know what I'm doing. that's it for fiber stuff. I am so scatterbrained. I forgot another thing. One day I'll get the hang of this podcast business. One day. Sewing things. So, since my sewing machine has been set up and I've had the space to do it, I've been working on my Hawkeye quilt. What? Brought that out of hibernation. I have finished the quilting on all of the arrow squares, and I've trimmed them down. Lost about a 1/4 inch, just due to where the fabric has moved around, so 1/4 inch on each side, basically, but that's fine as long as they're all relatively the same size. And I have started on quilting the bullseye squares. Now, originally I was going to do kind of a stippling thing with the free motion foot, but my free motion foot is inconsistent, and I haven't figured out how to fix that. There's some points, like, I don't know if you can see that, like right there, where the bobbin thread is just not catching. And it's better if I go slow, but it's not a guarantee, and it's just not working out for me. Like, the stitches are picking up better if I tighten the tension, but that's also pulling the purple yarn up through the top layer. It's something I gotta work on with my machine. If there are any quilters out there who use free motion feet on their home sewing machine, and you have any tips, please let me know. But I opted not to do this. I'm gonna pick this quilting out, and I've done one of these so far, but nice and simple. I did a spiral around the outside. So I did a circle just on the edge of the center bullseye, and then you can see here I just spiral out, and then just keep going on the corners. Yeah, I didn't do too good a job on the back here. I've got 2 major fold tucks, but since this quilt is no longer going to be a quilt, it's now going to be a wall hanging quilt, I'm not fussed about it. It's going to be up against the wall. And the other thing that I've been working on, pulled this guy out of retirement too, just for an afternoon, but I'm hoping to finish the other 2. Pulled out my Star Wars cross stitch, because everybody's been getting back into cross stitching again. So the other day I did this little Star Destroyer here, and this is a set of patterns, 6 ships in total, from Dinosaur Spaceship on Etsy, and the link will be in the show notes. And yes, I'm very excited to finish these. So I've got the next 2 lined up to go. Hopefully very soon I'll have them finished and in the hoops, and I can put them on the wall and get back to my Orabesh sampler, which I picked up the other day and just looked at it and went, oh, this is wonderful, I want to finish it, and then just put it back away. Sometimes that happens. So that's it for sewing stuff. Let's talk about some new stuff. Gotta reorder my notes a little. Firstly, I'm going to show you the Once Upon a Corgi Club colorway for May. Let me just take it out of the bag down here off screen. I'm not going to describe the color to you. I will give you plenty of warning for when I show it. I will only tell you the name of the yarn, and I'm going to sneeze in just a second here. I can feel it in my face. Anyway, I will tell you the name of the yarn, but I won't describe it, so you'll be able to close your eyes and not see it. So, I am going to show you this yarn in just a moment, so close your eyes if you do not want to see the colorway because you haven't received it yet. here is the colorway. It's called Murderer Attempts to Murder Murderer. Again, not my colors, but super fun. And I have now put it away. So if you closed your eyes, you can come back now. And I've also received a couple of packages. First, I received a package from Sherry, who is extremely generous and sent some stuff. And I'm thinking most of it is going to be giveaways for the podcast, which is very exciting. So one of the things she sent was this, probably used to be a braid, but I don't know. It looks like different packaging than what Into the World does now, but it's Into the World 80-10-10 Superwash Merino Cashmere Nylon in the Possum Haw colorway. And those are lovely colors, and I'm thinking this will be one of the prizes for Sith and Spin. I think those are appropriate colors for a Sith and Spin prize. So that's very exciting. She also sent a couple of yarns. She sent this Groovy Hues Fibers yarn. And this is in the Cuddly and Groovin base, which is a 75-25 Superwash Merino Nylon, fingering weight. And the colorway is I've Got Batik in My Belfry. So that's fun. Again, probably a giveaway prize. She sent this Haldecraft hand dyed in the Carolyn base, which is an 80-10-10 superwash, or an, getting ahead of myself, 80-10-10 superwash merino cashmere nylon in the colorway Kate Cracker Nuts, and this is a worsted weight yarn. So that's fun. And this ball of Knit Mona 75-25 Superwash Merino Nylon in the Satellite colorway, which looks super fun. This one I might keep, but we'll see what happens. But it might be a giveaway prize. And then this other goodie bag full of little bits and bobs and mini skeins and scrap yarns. I'll probably keep the minis. Might throw some of the other stuff in and some giveaways. We'll see. But thank you so much, Sherry, for this incredible package that you sent. There's some amazing yarns, and I'm really grateful. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I also got a package from, I have it written down in the show notes. Look at the show notes. From Shayna of the Fates Thread Shop on Etsy. She sent 2 bags and 2 little fun things. She said on the note, keep one and give one away, but she sent a Star Wars bag and a Constellations bag. I think we all know which one I'm gonna pick for me. So thank you so much, Shayna. I'm very grateful. Thank you so much. And that's a fabric that I don't have in a project bag yet. So this is a sock size drawstring bag, and she made me a little keychain out of a Scrabble tile. So thank you so much. And for you guys, at some point, I will give away this drawstring Constellations bag, and she made you a set of stitch markers with Scrabble tiles that spells knit. That's very cool. Thank you so much, Shayna. And go check out her shop. Her bags are very well made. I had taken the Star Wars bag out and played with it a little bit when I first got it in the mail, and super awesome. Super awesome bag. So thank you so much again, Shayna, from the Fates Thread Shop on Etsy. We'll move on to other stuff. Now I need to update these notes. This is why I like having the laptop. I don't know. Maybe I'll figure something else out. We'll see. But stuff I've been watching. We did go see Guardians of the Galaxy 2, which I enjoyed very much. Liked that movie. Have I gone to see any other movies? No, I haven't. But I also started watching the TV show Father Brown, thanks to Gabby raving about it. I do love British murder mystery TV shows where it's quaint village, somebody solves murders as a hobby. It's Miss Marple, it's Father Brown. I do enjoy those shows. They're super fun and just delightful. They're so happy, even when they're filled with murder. Good times. But mostly what I've been doing, also add, before I forget, stuff I'm playing. I started a new game of Knights of the Old Republic 2. If you've been watching for a while, I was playing Knights of the Old Republic, and on occasion I would do KOTOR and crochet on Periscope, where I would set up my phone in front of my laptop, I'd play Knights of the Old Republic, and I'd crochet and talk to you folks. So I've barely started KOTOR 2, and I was crocheting on my blanket while I was playing it because I have the invulnerability cheat enabled, so I can play the story and not worry about my Jedi getting himself killed. So if any of you are interested in another KOTOR and crochet type thing, let me know, because it was really fun to do. And maybe not do it on Periscope, maybe actually sign up for Twitch properly and do it that way, but let me know if that's something that you're interested in doing. Playing Knights of the Old Republic and crocheting. Yep. And the meat of the other stuff, I'm still going through my list of narrative podcasts, and I've gone through a whole bunch of them. So here we go. Podcasts I have listened to since last episode. I listened to a podcast called The Message, and again, I'm going to read the blurbs from their websites. The Message is a new podcast following the weekly reports and interviews from Nikki Tomlin, who is discovering the decoding of a message from outer space received 70 years ago. Over the course of 8 episodes, we get an inside ear on how a top team of cryptologists attempt to decipher, decode, and understand the alien message. It's a really cool podcast. It really uses sound very, very well. I mean, it's a podcast. It has to use sound. But the audio production on that podcast is very good. And it's only 8 episodes, like it said. There might be a couple more little snippet things on the feed, but it's a short podcast, and it's a beginning, middle, and end story. You're done. So if you're maybe new to narrative podcasts and you want to start with something small, this might be something to consider. It's really good. I couldn't put it down. It was fantastic. And by the same people is a podcast called Life After. When you die in the digital age, pieces of you live on forever. In your emails, your social media posts and uploads, in the texts and videos you've messaged, and for some, even in their secret online lives few even know about. But what if that digital existence took on a life of its own? Ross, a low-level FBI employee, faces that very question as he starts spending his days online talking to his wife Charlie, who died 8 months ago. But what feels like an unbelievable gift starts to bring up some very real moral and ethical predicaments as Ross discovers Life After, the program that brought his wife and countless others back to life online. But what is life if you can be preserved digitally? And if you live online, where do you spend eternity? Again, that's a really good one. Like The Message, it's short. I think a similar number of episodes. There's a beginning, middle, and end. I ran through it. It was really, really interesting and really fun to listen to. Definitely recommend it if you like spy thriller type movies. It's got that kind of a vibe to it. It's really good. And then this is a podcast that lots and lots of people know about. It's now ended, but it's the Thrilling Adventure Hour podcast. Now, I didn't go back and listen to the entire thing. I listened to probably the first 10 episodes in a row. It's their tagline, if I've remembered it correctly, is a new time podcast in the style of old time radio. And what they did is they would do these live shows and have like an hour-ish long kind of variety radio hour where they would do different segments of story, radio drama style. And each segment would be cut out into its own audio recording and put on the podcast feed. So there's a couple of different series in this podcast feed. There's Sparked Nevada, Marshall on Mars, there's Beyond Belief, there's Tales from the Black Lagoon, there's Captain Laserbeam. There's a whole bunch of like cheesy, humorous, old-time radio style shows. And they were good, but none of them really quite pinged my brain the way Beyond Belief did. Beyond Belief is a series of stories about Frank and Sadie Doyle, who are high-class Manhattanites, drunkards, who solve supernatural problems. Like Sadie's best friend is a vampire who married a werewolf, and they have an unholy child together. And one of Frank's friends is Pterodactyl Jones, who's a PI who was haunted by the ghost of a pterodactyl. They're so funny, and there's a lot of like puns and wordplay in Beyond Belief, so I listened to all the Beyond Belief episodes. But it's definitely a great podcast to check out, and it's really funny. It's really funny. The other ones kind of went meh on me. I just kept looking for the Beyond Belief episodes, so maybe one day I'll go back and listen to all the rest of them, but Beyond Belief is definitely one to check out. It's hilarious. And then I listened to the podcast Limetown. 10 years ago, over 300 men, women, and children disappeared from a small town in Tennessee, never to be heard from again. In this 7-part podcast, American Public Radio host Leah Haddock asks the question once more, what happened to the people of Limetown? That's a really good series. Again, it's finite. It's got a beginning, middle, and end, sort of. It's kind of like Twin Peaks, like it's weird, things are a little surreal, and you're not quite sure what's happening sometimes, but it's very good. I think that was the one that was actually sponsored by the new season, the new Twin Peaks show. So if you like that kind of fiction, definitely check out Limetown. And then I'm working on season 2 of this one now, but it's hilarious. It is Wooden Overcoats. Rudyard Funn runs a funeral home on the island of Piffling. It used to be the only one. It isn't anymore. On the overlooked Channel Island of Piffling, obstinate undertaker Rudyard Funn runs his family's failing funeral parlor. But when new and sexy undertaker Eric Chapman sets up shop across the square and becomes an immediate sensation, Rudyard realizes he'll have to take drastic steps to stay in business. With his frustrated sister Antigone, dog's body Georgie, and a mouse called Madeline, will Rudyard ever defeat his charming rival? This is a hilarious podcast. Like the description said, failing funeral home rivalry, hilariousness. It's similar to the humor of Douglas Adams and some of the Monty Python stuff. It's just steamrolling ridiculousness and sarcasm. It's fantastic and extremely British. It's hilarious. I highly recommend it. Yes, very good. I'm enjoying every second of it. And then for this episode, fanfic recommendation. Yep. Fanfic recommendation. It's another Star Wars fanfic. It's another time travel fanfic. Surprise, surprise. I will just slowly be recommending all of the Star Wars time travel fanfic that exists in the world. Yes. The series is called Stand the Hazard of the Die, but the main fic, or the first part of the fic that is finished, could be read as a beginning to end, is called Stand the Hazard, and it's by Keeley Thompson 1. And the summary is, a plot from the future to save the past effectively ends Anakin Skywalker's career as a Jedi Knight. I love time travel fic. I love it. I love Star Wars time travel fic. It is very exciting when you find a new idea in Star Wars time travel fic. Star Wars is in terms of fandom and fan fiction, it's one of the older ones, so sometimes you get a lot of fic for the same idea. It's wonderful to read all of them, because sometimes you just want that one thing over and over and over again. But it's really exciting when you stumble across one that it's like nothing you've seen before for the fanfic of that fandom. This fanfic starts out in an alternate reality of Star Wars. It's not the Star Wars we know. I get the impression, I can't be clear here, that old Ben Kenobi had lived the Star Wars that we know, had gone back, and then is changing things by sending somebody back again. He sends 7-year-old Luke Skywalker back in time to go find his older self to give him a message. And I've written down part of the message here because it's really compelling, and this is what really drew me in, was this scene where he says this, which is right at the beginning of the fic. He looks, little 7-year-old Luke Skywalker, who is written very well. Sometimes children are written a little funny, just in general, because children are weird. And sometimes it's just hard to put your brain in that mindset to write realistic dialogue and thoughts for small children. But Luke is written very well. And old Ben puts a message in his head for his older self. He locks a little message into Luke's brain. And he says, "Do not let it happen again. The boy will save Anakin, but I cannot predict how that will change things. Vader died the moment he had to choose between the boy and his power. Luke is the key, and he is all you will need to save us." It's incredible. Send little Luke Skywalker back. And it's about little Luke Skywalker and Anakin and Padme learning how to be a family. And it's incredible because they're all at different points in their lives. Like, Padme's kind of ready to start a family. She's been thinking about it. Like, as soon as the war's over, she wants to have that conversation. Anakin, just left the Jedi. He doesn't know what he's gonna do with his life. He's, panicking. There's this child here who's kind of a wild little brute because he's been traveling the galaxy, running from the Empire with old Ben and being left with various rebels as Ben does whatever he's doing. And little 7-year-old Luke Skywalker doesn't always realize where he is in time. He doesn't understand all the time where he is. He might wake up and not remember where he is. And there's things that he knows about the universe that are not true for them because Anakin and Padme have never had to live like he's had to live. And he's, slowly realizing that these are actually his parents who he knows are dead. And trying to deal with that. It's very, very good. I love it. It's super fun, and there are some retellings of some of the Clone Wars episodes in part 2 of this fic, which is like little slice of life days with this weird little family. So they go through like the episode with the Zillo Beast and how that changes. It's really good. It's a really good fic. You kind of can't say no to tiny time-traveling Luke Skywalker. It's just so good. It's so good. Highly recommend it. And that is going to do it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. Reminder, you can find the show notes at freakishlemon.com and freakishlemonpodcast.com. You can find the group on Ravelry by searching Freakish Lemon in the Groups tab. You can follow me at all the fun places as Freakish Lemon, like Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, Ravelry. And if you like these fanfic recommendations, come over to my Tumblr. I reblog a lot of fanfic, cool, awesome times over there. There's a lot of fanfic writers on Tumblr. It's amazing. Where else was I going? Links to these things will be in the down bar here on YouTube. And if you are on YouTube and you want to follow along with what I'm doing, feel free to subscribe by clicking that little button, and you get an update in your subscriptions box here on YouTube before when I post a new video. But whatever you want to do, thank you so much for watching, and yeah. I think that's it. I think that's all the things. I think I've talked about all the things. Yeah. Maybe I should shut up now and actually end the episode, because I did all the things I wanted to do in the episode. So that's it. Goodbye.